Welcome to the webinar. I'm Lauren Deal, an edutainer here at ACI Learning, and I'm thrilled to present Lynn Dohm, the esteemed Executive Director of WICSES, or Women in Cybersecurity. Lynn is known for her impactful journey and experiences collaborating with women in the IT sector. Today, Lynn will be recounting her journey of finding a sense of belonging in the tech landscape, sharing accounts of victory, financial freedom, and her advice on how to navigate and flourish in the field. And guess what? You can be part of the conversation too. We invite participants to send in your questions for our Q&A session towards the end. Well, Lynn, I think it's time we get started. Welcome in.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Thanks so much for having me here today.
I am so excited to have you, Lynn, because you yourself have had quite a journey. And before we jump into that conversation, you are part of WICSES. Can you tell us a little bit about WICSES' mission and what it's all about?
Yeah, so sure. Women in cybersecurity, our mission is to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. So we're often known by our acronym WICYS, and we go by WeSis, like we sisters, because we're a global cyber sisterhood. So our mission is to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. And what we do is provide accessibility and opportunity for women to not only get into cybersecurity, but to be able to advance in their career because of it. So we're really keen and focused on that recruitment piece. It's very important, but also that state of inclusion, belonging. What does that retention look like? And what does career advancement look like for women in cybersecurity as well? So it's a really incredibly powerful and empowering field to be in. And I'm really excited to be here and share more about it.
I love this. I love that you're part of this. And thank you for the correction on how to say it. I love that it's celebrating kind of like the sisterhood of cybersecurity. And you are part of that. Your journey has led you to this point. So start from the beginning, Lynn. Tell us about what led you to this point.
Yeah. So about 15, 16 years ago, I started working on many different government grant funded programs that are focused around the cybersecurity workforce. And it was upskilling and training and reskilling and building out programming efforts, hands on learning, and all of the above. And so it was super exciting for me. It was the first time that I was introduced to cybersecurity. So it was this whole new world. And I just kind of entered the space very bright eyed. My goal there was to learn more about what these grants and various nonprofits and for profits were doing in the space and to be able to effectively communicate it for others so that they get involved in it. But really, once I got more actively involved and acclimated with the workload, I realized that everyone that was working in cybersecurity, they were so just hyper focused. They were so really going down the rabbit hole and problem solving, and they were so just tuned in and tapped into what they were doing with such enthusiasm and excitement. And it really was this space with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and a lot of curiosity. And so I was curious myself, well, why is there this workforce initiative? And that's kind of the niche area where I landed, and many of my roles through many different grant funded programs, through many different nonprofits and for profits I worked on, was always working on that workforce initiatives. But that's what led me to working with WeSys. Actually, in 2015, I was started working with WeSys in a support capacity. And it wasn't until 2018 that I actually went to my first conference here in the Chicagoland area. And for the first time in my career, it was like my network was formed, my community was found. And you know that feeling, Lauren, I know you might have felt it in your life, or a listener has felt it in their lives, where you really don't know what you're missing in life until you have it. And then you're like, aha, this is what it is. Like I was a little on that soul searching journey for all those years. I was always trying to connect with other women that were in this space and really enthusiastic about career advancement opportunities for others, but I wasn't quite finding it until I went to the WeSys conference. And that's when my community was formed. I had that camaraderie. I had that shared experience with so many, and my career advanced very quickly from there. And the following year, I end up merging my passion and my career and became executive director of the WeSys organization. And I've been living that fulfilled, kind of wonderful life ever since. I'm very fortunate to be on this journey myself.
That is beautiful. And I like that you were saying that you had these passions and these skills. And it wasn't until you found your community did you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is the final piece of the puzzle. Like, I have all these pieces, but something was missing. And then to find a community of people who are doing exactly what you love, that's empowering. And so I'm thinking that there are probably a lot of women who are watching this and thinking, huh, I like problem solving. I'm curious about this. I'd like to get involved. But there may be a little bit of imposter syndrome too, because Lynn, cybersecurity, I think for a long time has been kind of more of a male dominated field or industry. And just recently, there are some women who are pulling up chairs and there's a lot of new opportunities. And so if someone's watching and they have a little bit of imposter syndrome, how would you suggest that they push past that?
Just know that the same type of problem solving and curiosity that's leading you on the path to be like, maybe I'll consider cybersecurity for me. That is the same curiosity and problem solving skills that you will always utilize throughout your entire cybersecurity career. It's always going to come about. You're always going to be navigating through that. And so, for those that are just considering, oh, what is cybersecurity all about? And maybe what my recommendation is dive right in. And that's what WeSys does is we create these pathways of accessibility and opportunities of different programming efforts, no matter where you're at in your career, whether you're looking to upskill your existing IT skills, whether you've been a stay-at-home mom for 16 years, whether you've been a physical therapist, a hairdresser. We hear the stories day after day, our veteran population that comes into cybersecurity because of the mission focus and how they're able to create more career opportunities just by exploring what does it look like in a safe, inclusive space that the WeSys organization is able to offer and provide.
I think that's so neat that you mentioned so many different backgrounds, like people who are coming from maybe a military experience, or maybe someone who is a career changer, maybe someone who was, I like to say, someone who is the CEO of the home, homemaker, someone who has dedicated their time to developing their own employees, if you will, and are looking to jump into cybersecurity. There are so many different backgrounds. And like you said, sets them up for success no matter what their background is. Knowing that you have a team who's going to help you be successful, that I think is helpful to push away any imposter syndrome that you may have. Now, you mentioned maybe some moms who are coming in, and there's definitely an element of work from home that has come out of the recent changes of the industry. That's definitely an appealing aspect to cybersecurity. Talk to us about some of the benefits of being in cybersecurity.
Well, definitely the flexibility of the job roles, the career advancement opportunities. We're at a critical workforce shortage. And so, for whatever the case may be, whatever might lead women into considering cybersecurity careers, they were at this critical workforce shortage. And that's the reason why WeSys exists, is because our mission is to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. And we're a community of women, men, non binary individuals, allies, and advocates that are all concerned about the critical workforce shortage. So, therefore, we're concerned about bringing more individuals into cybersecurity. And WeSys, as a nonprofit, is here to create more opportunities for women to get on board because they're lucrative careers and there's a lot of flexibility within the careers and they're good paying jobs that come out of it at the end of the day. But really, that's not all that's leading women to it. I mean, recently, Lauren, you and I were just talking about it. I reached out to some WeSys members. I'm like, hey, what brought you into cybersecurity? And the theme that popped up, the common thread time and time again, is that mission focused, is being extremely mission focused. And the stories go on and on and on. Some of them are just the opportunities to help protect people's livelihoods and property. Situations that come up time and time again of individuals experiencing their own hacking, or also being one individual came up and said she was in the healthcare system and her hospital got hacked and it impacted all her patients. And so she started educating herself, researching how is this impacting my patients. And from then, she pivoted into a career of cybersecurity because she became so focused on protecting others' assets, protecting her patients, protecting her family, protecting the company she worked for and the communities that she cared about. And that is always the common thread. Um, Another individual says that she came into cybersecurity as a role model for a daughter. Her entire family, none of them were in the tech industry, and all of them were blue collar workers. And she wanted to break that space, create a position for herself where it was an incredible role model for her daughter to forge forward. All the work that we're doing and all the work that you're doing, Lauren, and bringing awareness of these opportunities forward to so many is not only are we doing it for ourselves, but we're also trailblazing and promoting and bringing this awareness because we're doing it for the women that we stand next to. And that's really the power of community. And I know, I love it. And it's bringing and really joining forces and having that unity and saying, yes, we enjoy the work that we do, and let's do it together, and let's have that cohort and that space where you know that someone has your back. And within WeSys, it's always like we have your back. Just join and
Yes.
explore what this looks like. And if it's for you, we will continue as a nonprofit to do our part to continue to create opportunities and investing it forward back into you. Because we're doing it not for only the communities that we serve, but we're also doing it for the employer partners that are in extreme need of the diverse perspective on their teams. They,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh my word, I'm fired up. I'm sure you at home are feeling fired up as well. Please remember that you can ask Lynn any question you want by dropping it into the chat, and then we'll get to those at about 2:45. So you got 30 minutes of great listening before we get to the questions. But please know that you can ask Lynn any questions. I'm fired up. I'm just thinking about, like, all the different possibilities. And like you said, WeSys is an advocate for not just women, but everyone to jump into cybersecurity. And I like that you said about the stories about how sometimes this might impact you, and then you get curious about how to prevent it in the future, and then now here you are in cybersecurity. And so the doors are open and we're welcoming you in. And I also like that you said we're just pulling up a chair, and bring a friend and inspire, maybe your daughter, to see that you are trailblazing. So this is a really, really neat career path to step into, because the possibilities are endless. It's a lifelong learning situation because tech is always changing, and you have an opportunity to showcase perseverance for maybe someone in your life. Speaking of which, I love that you're sharing success stories. Do you have any more to share with us?
Oh, yeah, I have plenty. And each and every week, I have about I have so many meetings throughout my day, but I always try to have one meeting a day that's really just connecting with a community member and on her sharing her powerful story. But I mean, some of the most incredible stories and heartwarming incidences coming down. And there was one woman the other day that was just on the call and she was crying. I mean, she was absolutely crying about what coming into cybersecurity meant for her. And she was working and then recently became a single mom. And with that experience, she was at a very low financial status, just very concerned about herself, concerned about her family, and the financial stability that she had. And through the pathway, getting into cybersecurity, becoming a part of the WeSys programming efforts, being a part of the WeSys mentor mentee program, and some of our certificate programs that we offer as different efforts within our skill development training programs, she was able to navigate through her career, and in 2 years, supporting herself, supporting her family, really just stepping into that lucrative career, no longer having to stay up late at night, what just filled with dread and worry. When her car breaks down, she knows that there's a safety net, that there's some, security there, that she could pay for these things freely, and that she's able to work from home with her, current position. There is another woman, Christine, that I always connect with. Christine is just one of my favorite stories. She was at the peak of her physical therapy career. She had a young child at home and she was just bored. I mean, she was just bored. She just kind of felt like, well, this is it. Like, I'm really not using my brain the best I could be. And she had other family members that were in tech, but she wasn't in herself. And she was extremely like, it's not for me. I'm a physical therapist. I have a young one now. And, do I stay here that's secure, but I'm bored and not really fulfilled, not super happy? or do I just go for it? She came across WeSys. It was just on the LinkedIn feed. And she decided that she was going to apply for a security training scholarship. And that scholarship is developed in tiers. So at the beginning, it's a lot of people just exploring various areas of cybersecurity. And then as you go higher, it's really testing out like the different aptitudes you have for cybersecurity. Well, she just so happened to have the aptitude, the grit, the determination that she got to the top tier, and she became a final recipient of some SANS advanced cybersecurity certifications. And with the career placement services, in a year and a half, her entry level cybersecurity career was at a higher pay performance for her to to fit her needs than at the peak of her physical therapy.
Wow.
And so she was able to make that transition. She's had a couple promotions since then. Another one is Jenny. Jenny was this veteran, through 2 kids at home, a veteran, a single mom, and she was working on cadavers. I don't know what exactly she was doing on cadavers. I don't really ask. It was something about working on the bones, which kind of like, ugh, I could never, ever. And she was clearly miserable herself. She said she would come home with bone dust on her, which I could see why she was looking for a different career pathway. But she came across our veteran apprenticeship program and she was like, well, what do I have to lose? I mean, that's what we're looking for, Lauren. Is like, what do just dive right in. What
Yes.
do you one of my mentees one time, and I always encourage anyone that's over the age of 45 to find a mentor that's under the age of 30, so
Oh,
you get that diverse perspective. And one of my mentees in the mentor-mentee program, the WeSys program, actually mentored me through so many different areas of my life. But she has always said these famous words is let them say no. Don't outsource yourself. Let them say no. And so that's kind of the rule of thumb, the advice that we kind of give is go for it. And you know what? Go for that job. Go for that high level certification scholarship program. Don't outsource yourself. Don't say no on you. Don't you give up on you.
oh my
You
gosh.
know
This
that
is
we
so
you
powerful. I'm just immediately I think of when I'm looking to apply for a job, I'm thinking of like the LinkedIn or the Indeed or wherever you're looking. You see all the bullet points of the requirements. And if I don't meet every single one of those, I'm like, they'll never take me. But that's not the case, right? You're probably looking for someone who has, a get it done attitude or a perseverance attitude and meets most of the bullets, right? What are your qualifications like for someone that you might be hiring or looking to bring on?
So for us, depending on the program, it all the qualifications are very different. We even have some very high level programs that are aspiring CISOs, and
Wow.
we want to kind of give them that an incident experience. And part of an incident experience is the media calling you, and getting hit up, by the CEO and all the different people that you presenting to the board of directors, like all the different areas of that. So depending on the different program, there's many different qualifications, but you are absolutely right. I love that you point that out, is that there are many different studies that even showcase the different perspectives that men and women have about applying for jobs. And for women, and even myself, when I look at different qualifications, I feel like I not only have to meet, but excel in a lot of those qualifications where with confidence, extreme confidence, that I could speak to every single item on that job rec. And through the years, I've learned that when you get in a job, they're going to train you and teach you in a lot already. You need to know enough to get in that door. And so when the studies are there, they say that men are about like 25, 30%, 40%. They look at the qualifications and they're like, yeah, I got that. I'll apply. It's all good. And so and this just in general, there's not specifically for the cybersecurity industry, but to your point, Lauren, is to be able to have that perspective of, be very confident in the training that you have and this hands-on skills that you have and the opportunities that you have, be able to speak to them and apply for those positions and get those interviews and navigate through that interview process.
I like that you say that you're not discounting yourself already. Like, be confident in the skills that you have and just go for it. The worst that they can say is no, but if you don't even try, the answer is also no. So might as well try, and Lynn, I have to celebrate something that's coming up for you. And so if you're watching at home, this is something you're going to want to like lean in and listen to. Lynn, you have a virtual conference coming up and a career fair. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, we do. April 18th. So we have a virtual conference. We have 18 presentations. And we also have a part of that of the virtual career fair from 11 to 4 o'clock. We have all these WISA sponsors, 38 of them are going to be in the virtual space. They're going to have access to all attendees' resumes, and they're going to be able to have their live chat and queue everyone up and take them through potential career opportunities on April 18th. So in addition to being a part of the conference experience, you also have that virtual career fair and hiring experience as well. And so we're excited. This is part of our growth strategy of the in person event that we have going on for the WeSys conference, and to be able to add on another piece of inviting the presenters that were selected to present in person. We invited them back a week later to present live through Zoom during the virtual conference, where the chat features are going to be open, and then also have the additional career fair. So it's going to be a very lively, exciting virtual experience day. And we're super excited to be able to offer that as another ongoing effort for the WeSys community.
I'm excited because talk about accessibility. If you're watching this or you just stumbled upon this webinar and you're now very intrigued and interested, now you have an opportunity and access to check it out virtually and potentially catch up with some really cool speakers, be connected with Lynn herself. If you haven't followed Lynn on LinkedIn, I would encourage you to do so. She's a fantastic person in the cybersecurity world, as you can tell. So, Lynn, having this conversation about just inclusive and making sure that everyone is involved, I think we need to take a step back a little bit. And maybe for someone who is very excited but might not have an understanding of what cybersecurity is beyond the term of hacking, you know, it's a very broad umbrella term. What exactly does cybersecurity mean to you?
So we can't exist as a society with the technology that we have without cybersecurity always working. Human society and technology would not be able to coexist right now without cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is always working. Lauren, it's working right now for you and I to be able to virtually and successfully have this interview without interruptions. Cybersecurity is always working, it's always silent, and it's always in the background. The only time that we hear about it is when it's not working. And that's when we hear about the incidents and the breach, whether there's small incidents of hearing of a neighbor getting, hacked, and having even a certain uh incident even just happened with a friend of mine, where she was going to purchase something on Facebook, and it was a completely fake account, and she almost got taken for, a certain amount of money, and she thought she was making negotiations with her friend, and so it was an imposter. So there's so many different areas, and then we hear about the big breaches and the big, ransomware attacks, and huge incidences that happen. So, depending on anything that we're doing and anything that we're protecting people, we're protecting assets, we're protecting our data, we're protecting things that matter to us, and we're also protecting this space, keeping it whole and free for us to use technology the way technology is intended to be used, which is ethically and not for ill will. And so, again, when we go back to why do they come into cybersecurity? We know that the lucrative careers are there, but the passion behind it, that's what leads people on the journey, is to be mission focused, to be able to do something, to be able to understand more how they could be protecting things all the time. And it's really that powerful mission focus and perseverance and resilience that women bring to the table, in particular, with multitasking and determination, and just that inspiration that we kind of bring to being very focused and intentional with our work ethics and efforts.
I really like that you hit upon how women bring a different perspective maybe to cybersecurity, and so it is so great to have obviously the men who are in cybersecurity working side by side with just a different diverse experiences or different people who are bringing different experiences to the table because like you said the evolution of cybersecurity is always changing so again lifelong learning because tech is constantly evolving. And so you've got to stay on top of what is happening now or next. And so this is a really great career to step into that if you're looking for growth opportunities, this will be a really neat field for you to continue to hone your passion or to feel like you're making a difference. And speaking of making a difference, I saw at the bottom of our screen here, we've got some friends who are writing in, just celebrating the webinar today, saying hi. Remember, you can write in. I see a lot of questions coming in on Zoom and YouTube. Remember, you can write in and ask Lynn questions. This is so much fun already, Lynn. I have another question about career changers. We had heard about a success story about, women who are leaving one field and stepping into cybersecurity. If someone's watching today and thinking, okay, this feels like me, this is the community I've been looking for, this sounds like the passion I've been wanting to hone, what would be the first step after this webinar that a woman could be taking?
Well, the very first step is going to our website and checking out either joining as a member or subscribing to our newsletter. Just subscribe to our newsletter. We have so many different programming efforts. One of my favorite parts about being executive director is to work with so many different employer partners, the innovation, the creative minds, the way that they know that what the community needs and what kind of different programs we could do to fill the gaps here. So, as WISA's executive director, what I do is spend a lot of time listening to the community and their needs and building out programming efforts that make sense for the employer needs. And we're bridging that gap there that's going on. And so, right now, under programs, we have some programs that are coming up that are opening up for registration right now. So, just join that program. It's not going to be a charge to you. Everything within the WESIS org is free to all our members. And so you're able to safely explore, become a part of a cohort, and to be able to see if this is an area for you and just dive right in. One of my favorite stories too is there is this woman that came to the WESIS conference. The WESIS conference, we started as a conference in 2014. We started because women represented 11% of the workforce at that time. And our founder, Dr. Ambereen Siraj, didn't see it in any of her circles of industry, academia, or government. And so her idea was if women in cybersecurity exist, which she wasn't seeing it, and she was at Tennessee Tech University at the time, then why don't we hold a technical conference to bring all these women together so we could learn, grow, and advance in our careers collectively? So she was awarded some seed funding from NSF, and the conference was a big success. But what's interesting about the WESIS conference, and we continue to grow the conference every year, is regardless of gender, we're the only cybersecurity conference that ensures equal representation of industry professionals and scholarship recipients. And those scholarship recipients can be students, career changers, anyone that even aspires to get into cybersecurity. If you are interested in cybersecurity, we're creating a scholarship pathway for you, and we want to bring you into there. So through all the course of the 10 years, we have our 10th anniversary this year. We have always had that equal representation there. But one of my favorite stories is that this woman came to the conference. She received a scholarship. Well, she already realized that cybersecurity is absolutely not for her. She does not like the classes. She's all alone. She doesn't have, she's just not interested. She doesn't have the drive anymore. She feels a little depleted. But she got this WESIS scholarship, so what the heck, she has the travel stipend, the room, and all of that stuff. So she shows up, and the very first few people that she bumps into is the founder, Dr. Amber Siraj. She introduced herself and introduced her to some women, and then she brought her over to a table, and she was like, "Oh, I think you would be really interested in knowing these ladies over here." And that individual sat down, that scholarship recipient, and she built her community right there. Like her friendships were formed, her community was formed. And that was enough. That was all that she needed to stay in cyber. She went back with this renewed sense of hope and inspiration, with knowing of it's, we all know it's hard to be what you cannot see. But when you come to a conference and when you participate in WSIS activities, what you're seeing is and all these individuals that are showcasing their incredible talent and their career pathways, and they're showcasing it to bring more individuals into it. And so she went back and she finished her degree. And 2 years ago at RSA, we were on a panel together. So
Wow.
she came to this as a scholar recipient, and now we're peers. And she continues to grow and advance in her career, and she's not shy to share her WSIS story with whoever comes across her path, because that's her authentic, genuine experience. I was on a call yesterday with an individual that's actually going to be on the main stage at WSIS, and she's a PhD. She's a doctor. 10 years ago, she was a doctor. She said she showed up 10 years ago with incredible imposter syndrome. I said, "Wait a second, imposter syndrome? You could not. You're a doctor. You have your PhD. You've hit like the highest level of education, and you've been in your career for quite some time 10 years ago." And she said, "Yes, but she didn't have that empowerment in this space, and the camaraderie, that and the fulfillment and the rewarding experience and the championing. Like, you got this. Let's keep going strong." She didn't have that before 10 years ago. And when she found it, her career advanced. And those are just very simple little stories from 10 years ago on how we've impacted lives. And each and every year, those stories build and build and build. One of our WSIS members shares that going to WSIS is like going to a family reunion. She's a faculty member. She brings her students every year. Her students get hired because of WSIS. Her students then advance in their career by coming to WSIS and having that technical learning opportunities. And then they go to an employer, and they bring their employer partner now to sponsor WSIS so that they could hire their next talent and build up their teams with that diverse mindset.
It is a
So,
ripple effect. Oh my gosh. And to think, you have mentors as well, and now you're on panels with them. And so it's neat to pour back into these people who might be joining WESIS and starting their journey with cybersecurity. But you are now on panels with some of your mentors or people you looked up to. In fact, actually, you have something going on in that's involving the White House coming up. Tell us about that.
oh, well, I am on a panel this weekend. Yes, we're really looking forward to that, to the Women in Cybersecurity panel. So, we're going to be talking about the global needs and the opportunity for careers. And I'm really grateful to be on this panel with our peers here. So, that's going to be this Saturday. At, I have to look up the time. I think it's 10 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Central. Yes, 9 o'clock Eastern. And so it's going to be a great opportunity. The White House has put together, the Office of the National Cyber Director has put together a kind of a series of activities throughout the entire day. So not only will I be a part of one panel, but there'll be many incredible individuals that will be filling everyone up with inspiration and opportunities throughout that entire half day event. So for folks that are listening in, to be able to tap into that event in 2 days would be another incredible experience to learn more about the cyber opportunities.
I am so thrilled that we're having you on today on the webinar just to inspire maybe a woman who was on the fence or maybe had some interest but wasn't sure where to start. And now look, I mean, Lynn is opening up all these doors and pulling up a chair for you to start your cybersecurity journey. This is such a beautiful community. I think that's the other thing that I've pulled away from just our conversation today is that it may be a work from home situation that allows flexibility in your life, but you're never alone. You have all these opportunities to connect with other powerful women and to become one of those powerful women. And for all we know, in the next time that we have a conversation with you at home, maybe you will be on a panel yourself. And so it's just neat to see who you can become and the growth opportunities and the connections that you make. Lynn, this is such a powerful industry. And I'm so glad that this is not a limited amount of chairs at a table situation. This is we are pulling up chairs and in fact bring a friend kind of situation. Don't you agree?
Oh, totally. I always say, as one woman rises to reach out your hand and bring many women with you. And so that's just the power of, these type of opportunities is we're all collectively rising into the space together. We're staying in the space. We're advancing in our careers together. So, and it's also in order to solve these problems that have never previously existed before, we need to have these diverse mindsets. And that's not only coming from gender, but it's also coming from ethnicities and backgrounds, cultures, experiences, and more. It's all hands on deck. And so allyship isn't for only for women to advocate and be allies to other women, but it's also for all of us to advocate and be allies and step into the space of you know, doing right and bringing others in of all genders, all ethnicities, and all being a part of the solution. And that's the solution is building up the cybersecurity workforce with the diverse mindsets. That's absolutely critical. We need this. It's a security risk to not have the diverse perspective on the cybersecurity teams. The adversaries certainly have it. And so our cybersecurity teams that are defenders, we certainly need to have it as well.
I like that you said that there's an allyship too. So, as the gentleman, if you are watching, or people who are non binary, we appreciate that you are supporting just bringing a diverse and inclusive environment to cybersecurity. And in fact, this is international. As we develop tech and how it is constantly evolving, this is something that pops up internationally. And so there are opportunities to connect with people all over the world. And so this is such a neat field to be in because, like you said, different perspectives allow us to protect, defend, and to also just have a better understanding of the possibilities. And Lynn, you are a very impressive woman in cybersecurity. I'm going to say it 1,000 times from the top of the mountain. I'm so impressed with your accomplishments, and your journey has come so far. And for someone who might be starting their journey and might think that you're at the top of the mountain, where do you go next? What are your future goals or things that you're still trying to accomplish?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think we're always forever learners, and the landscape of cybersecurity and the needs and the demands of the workforce and the initiatives that need to be implemented right now for us to drive the changes that's needed. It's not only about empowering our communities, but it's also about powering up our employers for them to take a little to identify and take responsibility on inclusive cultures and what does that mean for retention and what does that mean for their cybersecurity teams. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. We're always evolving and just being really flexible on what are the needs right now with the evolution of cybersecurity. And so I believe I have my hands full with our next 5 years of our strategic plan and our strategic pillars of organizational excellence and also in creating more inclusive cyber trainings and opportunities for more individuals to get involved. I feel like I have my hands full there now, but with a couple of other interests, I'm always interested in leadership development. I always have my personal side interests. And so I really appreciate this community and how it fills me up and how I have so many mentors as CISOs in that space and how I'm interested in their journeys, how I'm interested in your journey, Lauren. I think you have a really powerful journey yourself. This is really interesting. It's the curiosity that keeps moving us forward on what is going to be the next version of ourselves.
Yes.
And our curiosity needs to continue to take us there and our passion. When you
Yes.
have passion, it will lead you to the next step. And before we even went live, we were talking about how it was my passion and curiosity that kept me in cybersecurity and my very own mentors from 15, 16 years ago, that how we ourselves now are on panels as peers. And sometimes before we even present, we're behind the scenes and we're catching up. I'm like, John, I always wanted to be here. This is where I aspire to be is on a panel with you. And look at like here we are as peers now coming into the space, working collectively with that collective mindset to make the difference in the workforce.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're taking your personal development and it also supports your professional development. And overall, you're bringing all of these incredible skills, passions, and interests to, the panels that you speak on, and everyone benefits. And so I like that you say that the mentors that you looked up to are now sitting next to you. I think just
Yes.
as someone who
It blows my mind.
yes, it blows my mind to think of the journey that you've accomplished and that you're still evolving and that you at home, for all we know, you might be sitting next to Lynn someday. How cool is that? You know what? We actually have a lot of questions coming in, Lynn, and I hope you don't mind. I'd love to jump in and include all of these incredible people in our conversations just so that we have time. The first one's coming in from Sarah on Zoom. They say, how does WeSys help support non-binary individuals in the cybersecurity space? This this is powerful.
Yes. So we have our community effort of our LGBTQ plus affiliate program. And so with our mission is to recruit, retain, advance women and non-binary individuals prioritizing, but the community itself is full of women, men, non-binary individuals, allies, and advocates. And so the way that we create more accessibility and opportunity is through that prioritization, making sure that we're prioritizing individuals. And that's through many different programming efforts like our Equity Advocacy Committee. We also have an Equity and Advancement Scholarship and creating those relationships and partnerships with other organizations that are leading the path and really, making incredible progress and ensuring that our efforts are aligned and that we're collectively stepping into the space, making sure that we're creating more opportunities for individuals to not only step in, non-binary individuals to not only step into cybersecurity, to ensure that they have the community and the support structure in place and that career growth opportunity. So
Very cool. Very cool. I love that cybersecurity truly takes all different perspectives because we need it. We need your personal experience to help shape the future of cybersecurity. And so I love that WeSys is very inclusive and accessible, and that you partner with so many different avenues and companies and just different ways that we can all support each other. Speaking of support, there's an anonymous person who's come in through Zoom that says, do you have any advice for trying to find a niche or segment of cybersecurity to focus on? There are so many different avenues in cybersecurity. How do we narrow it down?
a really good programming effort is their security training scholarship, and those applications are going to be opening up in August or maybe perhaps July. It's on our website, so please check that out. Another great programming effort is our mentor mentee program, and that could help you just kind of navigate on where you would like to land in cybersecurity. So as you go through a lot of the different programs and a lot of other CTFs that are even out there, not only the CTFs that WeSys offers, but the CTFs that are out there in general, what you want to do is approach it from a mindset of, this is something I could be interested in, and this is something that I really like to do, but this is something I definitely don't want to do. And you start narrowing down your focus there. So, what interests you will come from your experience and kind of what ignites your passion through the process itself. And so I've heard incredible stories from individuals that even go through tier one of our security training scholarship. And I believe last year in 2023, there was about 1,400 individuals that went through tier one, but it really helped them define what's working for them and how they tick and what their interests are. We also have many different type of assessments, and CyberGen IQ is one of those assessment programs that we have baked in our mentor mentee program as an offering, baked into our security training scholarship as an offering, and that kind of just helps look at where is your level of capacity, and do you want to explore that area further?
Ooh, I love that it stems from your interest, your curiosity, and that you get to choose which direction based on things that interest you. And I love that WeSys offers so many free options. And so, again, leading after this webinar to all of well, just jumping onto the website first off and just seeing all of the free options, just kind of sparking your curiosity and just like seeing where it leads you. Isn't that where our passions ignite, is when you find something that you're just a little bit more curious or wanna dig into? Motivation, I feel like, is something that, stems from further interest. Thank you so much, Lynn, for addressing that. And I hope that helps. The next question is from Linda on Zoom, and they say, oh, this is an interesting one. They say, what do you think is the single greatest barrier, either real or imagined, that women face considering a cybersecurity career? Ooh, what do you think, Lynn?
Oh, that's a lot to unpack, Linda. So it really depends on the individual. For some individuals, being like pioneering and stepping into this space where you're the only woman is very exciting. It feels wonderful. And for others, depending on who you are and what kind of person you are, that's very intimidating. And that's enough to stop you. That's enough of a barrier. And so that's why with cybersecurity, with us, with the WESIS organization, a lot of our efforts are also showcasing the talented individuals and women, the community, the opportunities and the camaraderie out there, because you don't only have to be the only to do cybersecurity. And so we're here with that. And so for us, we see that that alone has been enough of a barrier of not really having that inclusive space. And that's why when I talk about, and throughout the conversation with Lauren, talking about we're creating accessibility, we're creating opportunities, these are all inclusive spaces to explore cybersecurity. So you can have other like-minded individuals with your same experience or lack of experience to be able to be like show up as your authentic self, to ask the questions that you wouldn't feel intimidated to ask otherwise, and to kind of champion one another and move forward with your interests and your passions in that really comfortable, safe space. And then once you hone in on this area of focus is for me, then to take that level and explore it further where additional training or education or skill set building, and exploring what that looks like and taking it to the next step.
That is a great answer. And I think the bottom line is, not self-sabotaging, not limiting beliefs, but also just um seeing what happens. Don't cross yourself off of a list that you're not even on yet. Make sure that you give it a shot and just see and explore and see where it takes you. Don't discount your possibilities or your potential. So, cybersecurity has so many different avenues. I'm excited for you to just try it. See what ignites. The next question is coming in from Alana on Zoom. They say, "How do you know when working marketing, communications, and tech that moving fully into cyber was right for you?" Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Well, I moving into cybersecurity, staying on workforce initiatives. And so very early in my career, I started building resources for underrepresented individuals in cybersecurity, because it became very obvious that within the industry itself, there really wasn't a lot of resources available. And so I was able to team up with an individual that we met through many different conferences, and he was contracted on the grant that I was actually working on. We were building these resources for underrepresented individuals. And that is just the very start of kind of fulfilling this need of resources and a group, and to take interest and to pay attention to that space of where the gaps were. It was a predominantly male industry, and then also a predominantly, historically white male industry. And so where those gaps were is where my interest led me. And so I always stuck with the workforce initiatives in cybersecurity. And because of that curiosity, it led me throughout my career. And I was able to navigate very successfully kind of into where I'm at with WESIS organization. I'm building programming efforts to help bridge those gaps. So that's and I really think that the transferable skills of anything is related. One of the stories that I just pulled up, that when I was like, "Hey, WESIS members, what made you to come into cybersecurity anyways?" Someone even said that it was because her boyfriend was in cybersecurity and she saw him making good money, and she figured, "Hey, I'm in supply chain and he's doing cyber, I could do it too." And, joining on in, and she was able to take her transferable skills and go over there. So cyber is very multifaceted, and there's so many different avenues that you could go into, but that's the space where I really landed. It resonated with me, and being the person that I am, that's very passionate about also filling the cybersecurity cybersecurity workforce shortage gap, but also closing the gender wage gap. I've always been extremely passionate about being a feminist, being the individual I am. I've always been extremely passionate about, kind of these type of conversations. So it really resonated for me to stay here, stay in this space.
This is fantastic. I'm enjoying this conversation. And don't worry, there's still more times for questions. And so if you're joining us and you're like, oh, I've got a question for Lynn, remember that you can write in. And if you're watching this on replay after we're finished with our live, you can also write in questions and we'll try to get back to them. All right, let's check out the next one. It says from Anonymous on Zoom, what is your advice for someone trying to pivot into cybersecurity from a non-tech field? Ooh, this was me. I had pivoted from a non-tech field into this, and I'm loving it. What's your advice, Lynn?
Yeah, and again, the advice is just check it out. We have so many teachers, lots of teachers that come into cybersecurity. We have lots of individuals that are coming from the healthcare industry that are burned out in healthcare. A lot of folks that kind of really don't know where they're at or what their next career move is and what's for them. They come into cybersecurity. I believe I read a study a while back that people that have a higher aptitude with cybersecurity when they're asked through many different assessments and test taking. If they play the guitar, they just so happen to have this. A lot of folks that actually have higher aptitudes in cybersecurity have like guitar playing as one of their hobbies. I mean, there's all sorts of different reasons why individuals pivot into cybersecurity, but your skill set is there. So if you have that problem solving, if you're naturally just interested in things, if you're curious, if you are able to multitask, if you like to hyper focus, and just really tune in and tap into what is the problem, and if you're okay with going down that rabbit hole and sticking with that problem, coming up with solutions and moving forward from there, if that's you, if you like to solve problems and like to solve puzzles, then cybersecurity could potentially be the career for you. And so you don't know until you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And so my suggestion to you is just explore. Take a look at what CTFs have to offer. Take a look at what nonprofit organizations have to offer, like the WSIS organization, and find your pathway, find your people, find your journey. And if it fits in cyber, then I'm proud and happy that WSIS was just a little piece of that journey.
That's beautiful. And I like that you're just talking about how if you have these skills or these interests in other areas, then this might be a good fit for you. And I also think about, we're circling back to the beginning of our interview when we were talking about, flexibility. Maybe you are someone who's entering the workforce again after maybe not being in the workforce for a while, and you want to create a path that is learning at your own pace, finding things that interest you, and that's what drives you forward. Here at ACI Learning, we have a whole bunch of courses that help you kind of carve out your path based on your interests. Maybe you want to defend. Maybe you want to be a penetration tester. Maybe you want to just explore all the different avenues under the cybersecurity umbrella. You can check out our courses too. But there are so many different avenues, and if this is sparking some interest, why not? Why not just give it a try? So we are almost out of time, and I don't want to miss out on all these questions. We've got a couple more, so let's jump in. This is from Anonymous on Zoom. What are some resources for upskilling and gaining experience from personal projects other than professional experience? Ooh, good one.
Personal projects, upskilling and from personal projects rather than from what are resources of and gaining experience from personal project? Well, there's a lot. There's a lot. One of our programming efforts. A lot of our programming efforts actually come from individuals or our strategic partners that are looking at like what else can we do to kind of bring the community together to be working outside of the teams that they're currently working on. And that's how the Target Cyber Defense Challenge actually came into existence. So Target has long been a strategic partner of ours. But 3 years ago, they were like, we want to, what is this kind of like team building skill? And how could we partner with WSIS on building out a cyber defense challenge? And it just so happened to become like a personal project for all the individuals on on the cybersecurity team that volunteered within Target. But what they weren't expecting is how much it filled them up. And so a lot of folks were just like, yeah, I'll volunteer an hour or two a week to, offer my services and building out a CTF or the Cyber Defense Challenge for WESIS. But what came of it is when the team started really working together, they got extremely innovative, super creative. They started taking kind of their work and their personal experiences and building out this program for WESIS members. And it became like a hobby for them. It brought the team closer because they were working on something outside of themselves, outside of their workload, and outside of just their day to day. And it was really interesting when Target first brought up that idea, and when we first launched it, they thought maybe 100, 120 WESIS members would be interested in it. And the first time we opened up applications, the applications were open up for 10 days. There's like 750 registrants. I mean, it blew their mind. They had to like recruit more volunteers on the Target team to start working on it, to be able to support it and all of that. And now it's just this coveted space, not only for WESIS members that love it, and another way for industry professionals, if they're like, oh, what's threat intel? I'll just jump into the Cyber Defense Challenge and just check it out and see, another safe, inclusive, fun space to explore other avenues of cybersecurity. But it's also this kind of coveted space within the Target team because as soon as they're wrapping up 1 year's big programming effort, they're already creatively exploring what is the next year's theme. How are we going to how can we infuse, these injects to make it even more lifelike? And what will that mean for WESIS members to experience that? So there's just so many layers of how personal and professional, development opportunities come about through just the innovation and creative of building something together. And fortunately, the nonprofit space is the space to be creative and innovative, to be flexible, to ebb and flow with the workforce needs and with the community needs. And so that's what, we're really fortunate that the WESIS organization is able to provide.
This is amazing, Lynn, and I am so grateful for you joining us on this webinar today. In fact, if you are watching at home and you would love to connect with Lynn and hear more about this or just follow along on her journey, this is her LinkedIn. I highly recommend. Oh, there's my name. I follow her too. You can see that there are so many different posts that give you more information about WESIS and following along with Lynn's journey just to see what webinars or live events that she might be attending and panels that she'll be speaking on and how you can get involved. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Lauren. It's been a great pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Well, we'll catch up with you again soon, Lynn. And I also want to tell our friends at home about what's going on with ACI Learning because we're going to be at Hack SpaceCon on April 10th to the 13th at the Kennedy Space Center in Merritt Island, Florida. So come say hello to Meet Daniel Lowry and Sophie Goodwin. They'll be filming TechNado, conducting some interviews with industry leaders, and also attending some of the breakouts. And you can't make the conference. I know, I understand, but our team will be broadcasting the entire main stage on Friday on social media, so you can check it out there. So be on the lookout on IT Pro's YouTube page and ACI Learning social media channels, and we hope to see you there. Hey, thank you so much for joining us for this live webinar, and we've got more webinars coming up your way in the next couple weeks, so make sure to check us out and stay tuned. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.